Hello and welcome to a little video montage of how I painted this. So let's get started. Yeah, so this is someone's house. I was commissioned to do this house portrait because someone just bought a beautiful house and they wanted a family member wanted to give a gift of giving a portrait of the house that they just bought. It's a big investment, so here's a bit of a trophy for that. I'm not gonna really get into how to draw something like this for yourself. Because I find that time-lapse videos don't really help in that process at all. I mean, it does show you the step-by-step guides of when I did certain parts of it and like the different phases of it. Like first you draw it and then you paint it and then you do the line work. I mean, there's not much more I can say about it really. But anyway, this is a commission for a friend. She had a drawing like this in her house growing up, and she was very inspired by it, and she wanted to give that type of inspiration to some new homeowners. I mean, it is a fun gift, and I really enjoy doing paintings like this. I mean, if you're able to do a commission of something that you actually want to paint, that's a rare opportunity, and I would recommend anybody, if you, for example, love drawing horses. There's not a huge market of people who are specifically looking for horse paintings, but imagine you kept getting commissions to draw cars for people, and then all of a sudden someone wants a horse painting, and then you get to give them a horse painting. You know, it's one of those things like, I would have done this painting for fun. I didn't have to be paid to do it, but I was paid handsomely, so that's also a benefit, is, painting and doing something you're good at and then selling it for money. It's what people should strive to do. I mean, if I could make a living off of doing paintings like this, I most definitely would. Recently I've been posting watercolor paintings of buildings, and that's what I like to do. That's what I do for fun, is I paint and draw buildings because I work at an architecture firm, and I think it's a valuable skill that's not often showcased in the current profession. It used to be very important to be able to render buildings with traditional mediums like pencil, pen, and paint, but with computer generated renderings being much quicker and much more accurate to the final building, hand rendering is obsolete, and no one does it anymore. And for some reason, that's inspiration for me to look at this lost art form and try and do it myself. Imagine, when I'm painting like this, I try and imagine being at an architecture firm where they still did hand renderings. And what sort of tools and skill sets did they have? They didn't get good in one day. They had thousands of hours of practice, and there are books directed at people who worked in firms who did that, and those are the type of textbooks that I collect and I love reading. And there are more modern versions of that, but most of them are they're just like how to draw a building. And even though that's important, it's not really the path that I'm trying to take as far as what is the benefit of being good at drawing buildings. I mean, if you get so good that you can do it quickly, there is a market for it in the industry of architecture. Primarily in the initial phases of the design, people don't want to feel locked into some sort of, very rigid, like SketchUp. It's a modeling software, and they don't want to be so tied to like a physical form where it looks like everything's already figured out without the input of the people who are actually paying for the building. And to go in with a much looser medium, for example, drawing buildings, it feels that it's just a drawing. It's something that can still change, and it doesn't feel as permanent as actually changing the dimensions of a building, which is that's not the attitude that you want people to have when you have clients. You want them to feel like they are designing this building and you are just a tool that they're using to create something that they couldn't have done by themselves. And it's a pretty useful skill, I'd say. I just love doing it. I mean, it's one of the main reasons I got into the profession. Is I love drawing and I love math and geometry and stuff like that, and there's a beauty to merge them in drawing like this. This is a drawing of a sculpture, a very large functional sculpture that someone spent quite a bit of money on. So here's a portrait of a building to showcase some of the finer details that you don't usually focus on when you're experiencing a space. So this is a snapshot of what the building looks like from an idealist view. There are many different angles that I could have done this painting at, but I thought this was the most charming and descriptive of the form of the building. So to talk about the process a little bit, I started off with a very loose sketch, erased it almost completely, and then came in with a much tighter sketch. And that was to base the watercolor sections off, and a framework to actually do the watercolor painting. So I did the sky, which is usually the easiest part of a watercolor painting, and it turned out it was very easy. And then I moved to the greenery. It was also very easy. And then the scariest part was actually the brick. And after that was all done, I came back in with a pen and got all the outlines, and then came in with colored pencils to do color correction and kind of refine some of the details on the painting. And that's what you see here is, I didn't feel like going in with more watercolor, because to get, a watercolor brush to do these fine lines for grass and shading, it would have been much more difficult. So now I'm going back in with a much bolder pen right here, and emphasizing certain lines that describe the form. And you don't want to go overboard and make all the lines the same weight, so that's what this part is here. And yeah, that pretty much about does it. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I plan to do more of these, so stay tuned and have a good day. Bye.